Right on.
All right, let's see if we are live. I think we're gonna be live here in a second on YouTube. Thanks so much, everyone, for watching. You are watching us live, actually. We are live for realsies on YouTube. What's up, everyone on YouTube? We've got a bunch of people live in chat already. It is officially 4:20 right now on the West Coast. It's June 19th, Monday, June 19th. Happy Juneteenth to all of our brothers and sisters out there. And we want to hang out with you a little bit today here, Monday afternoon, Monday evening. And we're going to be catching up with Mr. JR Token right here. And of course, I'm your other co host, Q Grows. And we're going to be just bullshitting and chatting about what JR's been up to over the last few weeks. Of course, him and I both went to the DGC Cup just a few weeks ago now, over in Denver, which was great. We had just under 50 people entered the Dude Grows Cup, and we got to smoke a bunch of that weed and report back on it. And then JR has been in LA for the last few days or so, and he went to the Zalympix over on Saturday. But before I get into that, before I forget, I have a couple things that I want to make sure I shout out. First off, shout out, we have a brand new giveaway. Go to giveaway.cannabuzz.app. You'll find our giveaway post there, and we are giving a Source Turbo extract craft away. So make sure to hit up that giveaway. It's the Source Turbo giveaway at giveaway.cannabuzz.app. You can enter in your email address there, and we're going to be doing that giveaway soon, probably towards the end of June, but we might push it out a little bit more. We'll see. But just make sure to enter in there. That's for all of our friends and listeners. You don't have to be a subscriber or anything like that. Anyone can enter. Just go over there at giveaway.cannabuzz.app, and you can enter. And then, of course, shout out to Grove Bags, grovebags.com. Use the code CannaBuzz for 7% off and cure your own weed. I've got one right here that's about the quarter pound size, which is awesome. And then, lastly, shout out to TikiMadMan over at tikiseeds.com. But yeah, JR, what's the latest? How are you doing, man?
I'm doing really good. Flew into LA on Thursday and just came to see my son and meet the rents. And just by chance, I hit Brad up and we were trying to figure out something to do. And he said, "Hey, man, there's a Zalympix in town." And that's kind of like a bunch of the local guys have a cup type competition. And I guess Gucci Mane and Burner were going to be the performers for that night. And I'd never seen Gucci Mane, so I wanted to check that out. And when we got down there, I was amazed at how big it was. I expected it to be just like a venue type thing. And it was like a half a city block of food and art and a bunch of vendors. And then they had a main stage area that you could get into. And so, my luck, I ended up getting dropped off at the wrong entrance. And I stand in line, I get to the front. I'm like, oh, this line isn't so bad. It's great. I get up the front, and the guy's like, oh, yeah, this is the VIP entrance. I'm like, oh, wow. And he's like, yeah, you got to go around the block. It's around the other side. And I'm just like, bro, I can't walk that far. He's, oh, I got you. He looks down at my leg. He's like, oh, I got you, man. He pulls me in, gets me through security, sits me down in VIP and says, you can go down, get a bag, whatever, hang out, whatever, drinks are over there, blah, blah, blah.
That's
So I
cool.
go in and I'm just kind of chilling out, waiting for for Brad and those guys. And they came in the general admission area. And by the time they got to where I was, the little area where the actual live music was already to capacity and they couldn't get in.
Oh,
And
jeez.
right. And so I'm just like, man, I can't really stand here anymore. And there's like zero places to sit down unless you were in this, kind of VIP area. So I just went and chilled out in there and hung out with a bunch of the industry guys that were competing and stuff. So it was really a good time. I met some cool cats from New York. There'd been a lot of collaborations been going on between some of the New York brands and the LA brands. So it was kind of cool to meet some of those dudes. But it was a really good time. It was really, really like a lot more to see than I thought there would be. I was really blown away by how many people and vendors and different things they had going on there and giving away everything. I mean, there are people walking around giving away mushroom chocolate bars. There were little Oompa Loompas walking around giving away mushroom chocolates. And I mean, just a whole variety of everything from vapes, like disposable vapes that you can recharge, which I don't understand that concept yet. But yeah, a lot of really cool, innovative stuff. It was a lot of fun. Really, a really good time.
Those vape carts, usually they have enough battery, like it'll be like a gram or a half gram or something like that, and then the battery, you do end up having to recharge it, so it'll be like a little USB, mini USB or
Okay.
whatever, that you have to recharge it so you can get the last, third of it or whatever it is. Um,
Gotcha.
yeah, that sounds cool. The Zalympix. I looked at it. I didn't recognize all the names, but I think a lot of the names were California indoor growers. One of the
Yeah.
guys that I saw placed decently was Alien Labs. He's an
Yep.
indoor grower up here in the Sacramento area. He entered Skittles, and he got like third or something like that for he got high up there for I think tastiest flower or
Yeah.
something like
Best
that.
flavor. Yeah, it was
Yeah.
best flavor.
And then one of the other guys that I saw that is from he's up from around kind of where I live and kind of the Sacramento area was Preferred Gardens. I forget what that
Yeah.
guy's name is, but he's a real nice guy. I've actually met him in person. He was up there, and then also last shout out or name drop is Ridgeline Farms. Ridgeline Farms. He's an outdoor grower. He came from all the way up in from Humboldt, came all the way down to LA and entered his Lance, and he did pretty well. I think he got third in one of the categories, which was pretty great for an outdoor grower like that.
Yeah, that is really good. Um, some of the folks that I mean, obviously I was there with the Raw group, but some of the people that were there winning that night, I think some Backpack Boys won some stuff, some Hydro Boys won some stuff, and yeah, some of those type of dudes were doing well. They had a pretty cool, different layout of judging criteria. I thought was cool. So like just having a best flavor category, I thought was cool. And then
Yeah,
they had a people's champ kind of thing, the people's choice, and so I thought it was kind of a cool thing. And that LA culture, that LA cannabis culture, is something that I've never really experienced
I'm
full
not.
on
Yeah, I'm not
at
at all.
all. Yeah, so like my area in Oregon, is pretty small. I mean, very small. And so, like, to get any kind of decent sized exposure, I would always go to Colorado and hang out with the Dude Grows guys and stuff. And then we would do different events around Emerald Cup, Cowboy Cup, stuff like that. But I'd never been down into the LA scene. And it was fun. I mean, it was really a lot of fun, a lot of love there. I mean, there was no drama, no stress. Everybody had a lot of love for each other. So, and I kind of see that as being the common theme of almost all of these events that I go to is that, the plant seems to be the one uniting thing that just kind of brings out the love in all the communities. So, I know, when they leave those community or when they leave those events, maybe sometimes it gets, rough trying to
Contentious.
compete.
Yeah.
Yeah, or just competing and stuff. But I mean, when you go to the events, everybody's got nothing but love for each other. It's a good time.
Yeah. Yeah. Shout out to everyone in the live stream comments. We got a bunch of people in there. Gina, Crazy Pop Mom, Grower Mo, Stuck, Jason D, what's up, dude? Dr. J 303, thanks for joining us today. Slayer 420, what's up, man? Great to see you all in the live stream. We haven't done one of these pretty much in a almost ever, but we wanted to make up for we hadn't had a couple fits and starts with recent interviews and stuff like that. So we wanted to kind of check in with you guys and give you guys a little bit of an update. Zalympix, yeah, it looks really fun. I'm glad that you got a taste of the LA scene, so to speak. Because yeah, I've only gotten the San Francisco Bay Area scene and only, just elements of that because I'm sure it's different when I go around the Bay because I've only been, in few different cities and gotten little tastes of it. But LA definitely just seems so different. Just to kind of put it in perspective for people, I'd have to look up the exact population, but I think it's like 10 million, 15 million people or something like that. Crazy live in the LA area. It's one of the biggest cities in the country and in the world. And so it makes it this like nexus for, obviously there's the entertainment scene and movies and music and everything out there. And then you have weed on top of it. It just seems like it's like all these ingredients into one make it into something like what you just said, where you've got some party where Gucci Mane's gonna play or whatever, and it's
Yeah,
just like
it
all
was
these
so
LA
wild.
growers and stuff.
Yeah, to like for me to go see a show like that, to see Gucci Mane or anyone like that, would be like at a venue where there'd be at least 100 plus people, and I mean, I don't know, there was not many people in the room. It seemed like there was maybe, I don't know, maybe I was wrong about that, but I mean, I was amazed at how small the venue and how intimate and private the whole thing was for being in LA. I thought, wow, that's pretty cool. And yeah, the other thing I thought too was cool is like the area that I'm staying in with my son is really it's in West Hollywood, and it's wild to see people driving down, the boulevard, just smoking J's or just totally puffing down on vapes and stuff. And yeah, it's just was sitting poolside, and you look over, you catch a whiff of someone smoking a joint poolside at the party, and it's just a totally different vibe. I've in where I'm from, a lot of the people who are in our culture who are wealthy are like stealth wealthy, like you don't really know,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
Where here it's very flashy, wealthy, and they're just like burning down like it's no big deal. And that's a very uncommon thing for me to see.
yeah.
Totally.
I know what you mean. I totally know what you mean. Um, well, that's very cool. And like I was saying up at the top of the show, if you guys have watched this far in, make sure to enter our giveaway. We have a Source Turbo. It's a concentrate extract machine. It's a really cool machine that you're going to be able to make some amazing extracts with that you can use for your medicine. So make sure to go to giveaway.cannabuzz.app, and you'll find like a blog post that I have there where you can enter your email address. All that is it's just signing up for our CannaBuzz email mailing list that we'll use to keep you up to date on new giveaways and things like that we have coming in the future. But we thought it'd be fun to kind of kick things off with our newsletter with this awesome giveaway that JR got hooked up. So make sure to hit that up.
Yeah, and on that note, first of all, I want to shout out to Dr. J. I've known Dr. J for many years, original DGC #1. And I had just on that note, Dr. J, why I have you here. I got Columbus coming in July. Just hit me up. I'll take care of everybody. And yeah, I like I said with the well, like you were saying with the extracts, not only are you limited or not just limited to cannabis extracts, but there are also some psilocybin extracts that people are starting to put tech down for.
Oh, that's cool.
Um, and so you can use that same um, it's just basically a food grade ethanol or Everclear or anything 190 proof or more. And you can use it to make your extracts of all different varieties for all kinds of edibles, butters, oils, anything that you would normally infuse. And they have different size machines. Also, if you just want to make just a simple RSO, that I think is one of the I would say is one of the bigger benefits, because some of the other machines like a magical butter, they have processes for making RSO, but it's not really within the, you know, classifications of what you're supposed to do with their product.
Yeah,
Where this you can actually make your RSO and then get a really good MCT oil, or if you want to spend a little extra, get a really good organic pressed hemp seed oil, recommended from the Canadian region. And you can use that hemp seed oil to kind of dial down your RSO to where you could get it to where it's functional, to where you could even have a morning dose and a nighttime dose. And then the other beautiful thing is you could take your RSO that you make out of the material you grow, and you can just buy a very simple CBD oil, and you can make your own 1-to-1 or ratioed oils that you can take for all kinds of different things. And you can also use this for making edibles and treats for your pets who might be having health issues or in later stages of life and are having difficulties. It's very helpful in that respect as well.
very cool. Very cool. That's awesome. Yeah, I was just thinking while you were talking, the reverse endorsement that I'll give, and one that I would, a machine that I would advise not to buy, is a Levo. I bought a Levo oil machine. It's pretty
Yeah,
cool. Like it's basically like it makes a little tiny. It's like basically a little tiny slow cooker thing about the size of 2 cups or something like that. And it can squirt itself, dispense the oil itself. So it's way less mess than like a crock pot or something. But the all the parts are plastic, and the latches and the clasps on the door are all plastic, and they break, especially in a machine that heats up to like 200 and something degrees. So
yeah,
I'm literally gonna throw mine in the trash, because it's out of warranty and all this kind of stuff. But I think they're cool. Like when it works, it's great. It makes things a lot of really easily. But yeah, I hate that all the parts are plastic. And I know our buddy um, Rasufa went through a big deal with them like a year ago. Same thing happened with him, and he tried to get them to do a warranty and all this kind of stuff. And they basically told him he was like SOL,
yeah,
which sucks. So yeah, I definitely don't encourage you guys to check them out. But another one that I was gonna say that you were talking about CBD. My dog is old, my dog Josie, and she has issues. So I've been buying CBD for her from Santa Cruz Medicinals. So I was going to shout them out, Santa Cruz Medicinals, and they also make CBD infused like caps and all kinds of stuff like that. So I like them, and they seem like a pretty good deal. So I was just going to shout them out, since when you're looking for CBD in like high concentrations, and like yeah, high concentrations in particular, it's kind of hard to find, especially like high quality. So
it
Santa
is.
Cruz Medicinals, I like.
And the pups, as they start getting older, they always have inflammatory issues. Their joints get worn out and stuff like that. And sometimes just a few applications, you can already notice a pretty noticeable difference in the way they like. The thing I noticed is the way our dog was able to get up and down. Because like
Exactly.
he was a bigger dog, pit bull, and laying down was rough. It was almost like it just collapsed and slammed down on the ground thing.
Yeah, yeah.
And and so as we started noticing some of this, that therapy helping is getting up and down was a lot easier, stuff like that.
Yeah, I noticed the same thing, and that's what I like. Santa Cruz Medicinals is he makes his stuff really high. So the dosages are like 40 or 80 milligrams per tincture instead of like most dog tinctures that I get are like 10 milligrams or 5
If you're
milligrams or
lucky,
something.
yeah.
Yeah. So
Right.
he
If
makes
you're
his stuff
lucky.
really high concentrated. It's like he does a lot of sales too, so you can usually get it for like $50 a jar or something like that, maybe a little bit cheaper. So it's usually not too bad, especially like you just said, JR. I mean, my dog can now get up and down, and I noticed she kind of has these like random shakes here and there. Oh, and she doesn't have that as much when I use the CBD. So it's kind of interesting. All right. Well, we're not going to live stream for too long, but I did want to make sure that we talked about the Dude Grows show, the DGC Cup. Obviously, we're not the Dude Grows show, and we're not those guys. So definitely encourage you to watch. They did at least a couple episodes about the cup. I watched the one that they did like right after, and that was cool. Let me know, guys, in the live chat. Let me know if you guys have any questions about either of these events that JR has been to. But anyways, the DGC Cup. Yeah, sorry. Go ahead, JR.
Yeah, before we go and get into the cup, I wanted to let people know I will be going to Secret Stash. It's going to be a stash and dash kind of thing. Fly in on Friday, do the event, and then fly out on Sunday. But I really want to go if I'm physically feeling it at all. I want to make it to the Church of Cannabis on Sunday morning for the International Church of Cannabis in Denver. If you have any questions about it, hit Grambo up from the DGC. His roommate is one of the guys who kind of helped run the church.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah, so if you have any questions or you want to meet up at church, it's the only church you'll find me in.
Oh yeah. Yeah, no, I met that guy. I remember him. Yeah, so the DGC Cup was a lot of fun. It was in just north of Denver, about an hour north of Denver, a few weeks ago, right at the very beginning of June. And it was, for those that aren't familiar, the Dude Grows Show is a podcast, like just like this YouTube channel, and it's a podcast as well. And they've been around for years and years and years, and they've been doing this cup now for like 5 years or something like that. I don't know what number this one.
2000, 2015 was our first official Cup Inside a Cup. It was when the Denver had their High Times Cup, their big cup. And so the guys just set up a booth and they brought in pizza boxes with slabs of dabs and thought it would be great promotion to give away free dabs all day. And by the end of the day, they were just exhausted. I mean, they had dabber's elbow from giving people dabs literally all day. And then after that, it started their own private events. So their official first private cup was in 2016 in the art district there in Denver. And we met this really cool French couple who had a small little art museum, and they let us turn the downstairs of it into a cannabis party. And it was like nowhere near 420, I don't believe, because there was like 2 feet of snow or more on the ground everywhere. So yeah, that was kind of the beginning of it. And then we did cultivated synergy for years until the COVID thing, and it did not survive COVID.
Right.
Um, and now with the way things are about getting indoor venues that allow you to have consumption is on a whole nother level. So we found a really, really neat farm outside of Fort Collins. What was it? Do you remember LaBelle, Lamont, was something? Anyways, it's about 15 miles north of Fort Collins. And we did it the first year, last year there, and it was in July. But this year they did it in June, and they decided to do a circus tent style situation
Or like a big
to
wedding tent. Yeah.
yeah, like a giant event tent. No, not like Cirque du Soleil or anything, but it was
Yeah.
massive. It was massive. And so that was a game changer because that was we were ready for all kinds of weather and everything. And so it was a wonderful event. I thought the way that like I think we talked about this, the way you just kind of walked down into the field and the whole thing was kind of revealed to you, and it was beautiful. That's one of my favorite cups because it's so intimate and it's so the energy there is so positive and it's really nuts.
Yeah, it worked out really well. When it's not in when I the last one I went to was 2018 or 2019 at Cultivated Synergy, which was a great venue, but it's inside and there weren't as many as people as there were this year. I can't remember how many there would have been at Cultivated Synergy. It's probably like 100 or maybe a little bit more than
Yeah,
that.
I don't even think the capacity of the room was more than a couple hundred. And
Yes. So this is way
last
different.
year,
Yeah.
yeah, last year there was like just over 300, and then the venue did a bunch of modifications over the season, and they were able to bump their capacity to 400. And I think we were just short of that. We were like 387 people descended on that little field or that big field and had a really good time.
Yeah, definitely hope to go to the next one as well. I know it looks like several people in the chat were thinking they want to go to the next one. Also, shout out to the folks that were there. Not sure. We talked to Not Sure. I think it was Not Sure that I was laughing with on that Friday night, that first night he was it was really cool to hear. It was just really cool to meet people that watch the show and we can laugh about all the funniness that happens on this show. Also, it was Slayer 420 said he was there. He was
Yeah.
number 8. I don't know if I saw you there, dude, but I can't remember. Maybe you did. It's always hard to remember faces to tags and everything
Hmm.
like that.
Hmm.
But he was number 8, which is cool. There to give people an idea of how it was set up. Essentially, just like JR said, they had this giant, basically like a wedding event tent type thing, and in the middle of the tent, they had several rows of like fold out Costco tables, basically, and they would lay out, like 10 entries per row of tables, I think it was. And what that was is the entries were people entering in jars of weed. And then they had like bud tenders that essentially their job was to help grind up some weed and put it on a plate so that you could take that bit of weed and put it in your one hitter. Or it seemed like it depended on the bud tender. Some others were more stingy about the weed, so you'd have to ask them for a nug. Others would just like grind it up and put it on a plate or whatever. But either way, you got to try as much weed as you wanted to, which was really cool. With that glass one hitter that you got just by buying a ticket to the event, and then you just hit it, and you get to decide how you want to judge it. And as a attendee, you are a judge, and you are given a JR token. It's a little wooden token that you put in the bag for the weed that you like, because each entry had its own little bag that you'd put, your little voting token in. So that's essentially how voting worked, and I really, JR, I know we've talked about this in the past, but I really like how this event works, where it does give everyone access to it, because as much as it's fun to go to events like Emerald Cup, obviously there's a lot of great weed there. Unless you're like buying it, and you're not gonna get to smoke it or even smell it.
Sure. Yeah.
And
Right.
and a lot of the guys, the stuff that's entered, I don't think you can even buy it. I don't see a lot of those same farms
Yeah.
out there selling their weed, because I know it's kind of easier said than done to go sell your weed on the show floor. So a lot of them might just be entries or whatever. So anyways, the fact that you can go to this event and go try the weed and have that whole experience is really cool.
Yeah, and it's amazing for the grower. All they have to do is bring in basically an ounce of weed, and that somehow when you put 50 ounces together, there's enough weed for everyone to try. And there's 48 strains, and I've seen people really go hard and really do their best. And I myself, I've never made it past 18. But there were folks there this year that said they tried every single flavor there was to try.
Yeah, I saw guys there. They had like a list on their phone, and they would like
Yeah, I
try
know.
it together, and then they would like talk, confer with each other, and then they would like
Hmm.
enter notes on their phone. And I was like, "Are you guys trying to try every single one?" And they were writing down notes for every single one. It was pretty cool. Shout out to Trey K in the chat. She got second, I believe. Right, is what
Yeah,
Trey
she
K
had
took home.
in-house genetics slurricane, and it was very tasty, smelled amazing. But when you hit it, you knew you were hitting something different, like special. It just, like you hit a lot of stuff, and it's just like wah wah wah, and then you hit something that just kind of punches through everything else.
Yeah,
Uh, yeah, it was very good. She did a great job with that one, and her speech at the end was great. Living soil, water, and a little criminality, something to that effect. It was
yeah.
great. Good
A
times.
little bit of crime or something like that. Yeah, it was really cool. Let's see. I definitely cheers, Kevin. A bunch of folks kind of popping in and out for the live stream. Appreciate it. Steve or Weed Wizard says, "When's CannaBuzz Con?" That would be pretty cool. I've always wanted to do, well, for a minute we were talking about doing something in Portland, but venue situation fell through. I'd love to do something out here in California. Obviously, it's not the cheapest to ask a bunch of people to fly to the Bay Area or something like that. But I feel like I could at some point rustle up something here in Vallejo, which would be cool.
That
Um,
would be
but
cool.
but yeah, I don't know. I don't know, man. I think for now we're just gonna try to tag on to the big events that we end up hitting up. So Emerald Cup, maybe eventually some way day we'll just like invite a bunch of people to uh Airbnb or something like that, and we'll have our own like private cup thing
Cup
in the
within
in
a
the
cup.
in the backyard or something.
Right.
I think that's
Yeah,
the way to go. I mean, so like, pro tip to anyone, I guess, in a recreational state like California is you can't do cannabis events unless you're a licensed event, but you can have private parties, right? Like just as much as I can have a private party at my house right now, and it just might so happen that a bunch of them bring weed. You know what I mean?
yeah,
So like it just really
right.
depends on how you look at the party, and then obviously you got the whole selling and all that kind of stuff can't come into play, or shouldn't come into play, so to speak. But at least if you're just doing a party where people are smoking weed, you can just have a private party, and you don't have to like jump through a bunch of hoops. So that's the main thing, I guess. From what I can tell, is like if people are just showing up with personal amounts of cannabis, then it's all good. But anyways, just some pro tips for people that are thinking about doing their own little thing. Where
And that
in
was kind of one of the conversations we had with Wolf on the Secret Stash coming up was having a consumption event versus a non-consumption event. And his take on it was it's easier to have a non-consumption event and just let
right,
everybody smoke outside, out
totally,
front. You know what I mean?
yeah,
But I
totally.
mean that those days of having clubs where you could do that for us in Oregon are it's really tough. But I think California has legislation where you guys are opening up lounges and stuff, but it all has to be a licensed event. Is that what you're saying?
Well, yeah. So the lounges, there's been lounges here in California since about 2019, I want to say, and that started in like San Francisco, and then it's been spreading out from there. I think I've heard there's one in, or there's some in Sacramento, and then I know there are some in down in LA. But
Yeah, right
anyways,
down the road from me.
the thing that the hoop that you have to jump through is because I looked into it because I wanted to open one myself, is you have to be a cannabis dispensary, because basically California's laws, its cannabis laws in terms of smoking and stuff like that, is based on their tobacco laws. And apparently California's tobacco laws say that if you want to go smoke a cigar or whatever, you can only do that in a place that is a licensed tobacco retailer. So therefore, if you want to smoke weed, you can only do that in a place that's a licensed cannabis retailer. So yeah, you can't just like open up a smoke lounge, because that's what I wanted to do. I just wanted to have like a BYOB like lounge or whatever, because we've heard of places like that out in Massachusetts and other places, but unfortunately states like California won't let you do that.
We had it in Portland. We had one place, and it was when all the Clean Air Act and stuff was being flipped over. They were grandfathered in as a cigar bar, so they were able to have smoking indoors. And so then, as soon as cannabis came online, they flipped to a cannabis bar. The smoking was still allowed, but the guy who owned it and ran it was really kind of dumpy. And I don't know, I shouldn't say dumpy. It was just really different. It wasn't like, I don't know, whatever. It was kind of dumpy.
Yeah,
And I'll stand by that. It was kind of dumpy. And the business model of bring your own is really tough for these guys because they have
totally.
no way to sell anything but chips and snacks.
Right.
So paying the rent at the end of the day is tough. So then they're trying to book all these events, and the events started popping off, and it was actually seemed like things were going to go well. And then the COVID thing happened, and everything was shut down. And
Right.
oddly enough, somehow there wasn't COVID money for the cannabis club, or something wasn't
Right.
taken care of on the business end of things, and they didn't survive. So we lost our only actual legal consumption lounge type place, and now they're all kind of quasi membership type situations.
Yeah. Yeah, I know there I think there's a membership club up in Sacramento, now that I think about it, that you can smoke at. I haven't checked it out yet. Let's see. I'm gonna take some questions from live chat. Not sure asked where in Cali I am. I'm in the San Francisco Bay Area. Um, Trey K, she was asking if you wanted to trade cuts, trade second place cuts, which I thought was
Anytime.
funny. She said compost castings, a lot of love and a little bit of crime. That's what it was.
Yeah, compost castings. Nice.
Let's see. Um, yeah, I know. You said that place looked like a dump. I mean, that's unfortunately I've noticed a lot of cannabis businesses are like that, especially if they're holding over from the medical days. They just
Yeah.
look like a dude's apartment or house or extra building that he also happens to sell weed out of or whatever. It's like so weird to me. But on the flip side of that too is it's also weird that every weed store has to feel like an Apple store now.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, there's got to be something in between, right?
Right. Well, we're not going to go too long tonight. I wanted to just say hi to everyone, give you guys some FaceTime. We've got some guests coming up in the coming weeks. We've got Soil King Patrick from Soil King Soil. They make Big Roots soil, which is one of my favorite soil bags of soil that you can get out there. He's also just a great entrepreneur in the soil space, so that'll be just
Yeah.
interesting to know. Like he's been through
Yeah.
hell and back, like literally, and like what's that like to build a soil company? Because we've no pun intended, you get to watch that through Build a Soil, because Jeremy actually puts out a lot of content. He talks about how hard it is for him to put together Build a Soil 3.0 and so on and so forth, and he's going through that pain. But I imagine Soil King's been through that over and over again, and so it'd be interesting to hear like what's it like trying to make a soil company and have a big
I
ass
can tell you,
machine.
Right. And I can tell you from my experience in the industry that regionally, soil companies don't always have the same access to raw resources. Like, so say, for instance, you're buying a Tupper or King's Mix over in the East Coast. It may be compiled from a little bit different resources. So I know having a homogeneous product for those guys is very difficult. And shipping, I mean, shipping soil, shipping anything heavy like that on a bag by bag basis has got to be tremendously expensive, you know. And so then at the end of the day, you've got to charge, you know, like whatever, $20 for a bag of soil. And people think, what the hell? But they don't realize
What goes
how
into it?
much goes into it, right? I mean, we've all gotten crappy soil and tried to grow with it and seen the results of how that turns out, you know.
Especially with Patrick's soil. You know, we won't go too long on this because we'll have him on the show soon. But Patrick's soil has compost. It's got pumice. It's got um, all the different nutrients and all this kind of stuff in it. So he's got to do all that for, like you just said, like $16-20 a bag, and that's
Yeah.
retail to end consumer, right? So he's selling it to the store for cheaper than that.
Yeah.
Um, we had a bunch of people in the chat talking about their types of cannabis businesses that they'd like to start. Reginald, the mechanic fool, said, "My dream is to open a coffee shop, Amsterdam style. Nice homegrown weed, nice music, good vibes, and travelers from all over the world." Trey K said, "I want a cannabis massage parlor." Not sure said he like a place that had nice chill house music going in the background. Um, yeah, no, I hear you. No, like I've been trying to kind of, now that it's been warming up and we're not in COVID anymore, I've been trying to get out around my town, just like trying to meet people and stuff like that. And it's just unfortunately so much of that culture just revolves around drinking,
Mm-hmm.
you know? And so I'm
Mm-hmm.
finding myself drinking beers, and I don't mind a beer here and there, whatever, but it's, if you want to hang out all night with people, it's like really hard to do that if you don't want to drink. And I do bring vapes with me and stuff like that, so I do smoke, but it's just, it sucks that everything is so alcohol centric. So there's so many times through this whole experience that I've also been like, man, I wish I could just do this and be smoking weed. I'd much rather just be here, sitting here
Right.
smoking a joint and drinking a Pepsi or whatever, rather than like you doing this whole dance where I go and buy an IPA and drink an IPA and then sneak outside to go hit my vape or whatever.
Yeah, and it's weird because like when you're young and you're out and you things are popping, you know, you go to a club, you really don't want to go in there and have a bunch of dudes just sitting around bonging out. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
it's like the environment between the two different things are, you know, it's really different. It's like I was noticing like down here at the motel at the hotel we're staying at, it's like high energy poolside party every night of the week. And it's like I just think that wow, man, you know how different that would be if everyone was just sitting poolside with a fucking bong or a joint in their
A
hand.
volcano or whatever.
You know, everybody just be chilling out smoking. It would not be popping. You know what I mean?
I don't know. It would be in its own different vibe. That's for,
It is. It's a completely different vibe, and no offense, but that the you know, I don't know, the chill kind of sit around and bullshit cannabis vibe. That's more my thing. I'm not really into like
the party, like
you
high,
know, like for
yeah,
like 6 hours straight. You know, it's like I don't know. I don't think I ever was into that kind of thing, but I mean that's just my vibe.
yeah, for sure.
But for younger
Um,
people, you know, who, like you said, want to get out, they want to socialize, they want to mix and mingle, and so it's tough to find anything that's not alcoholically fueled or centric event. And that was what was kind of cool about the Zalympix is it was all of that excitement, all of that hype, and all that coolness without just a bunch of dudes sitting around in a club smoking weed. You know, it was like it was it was popping, but it was weed. It was really wild to see.
Yeah.
Really welcome.
Yeah, Trey K was saying I should talk about the punk shows I've been to. Yeah, I did go to a punk show at the back of a library here in town, which is pretty sick. But like actually to that on that point, that's what I would love to see. I would love to see. I mean, most music venues people do smoke weed at, anyways. But I was gonna say I would love to see music venues that are cool, like you could just smoke weed at. I would much rather be going to a show and smoking weed than, like I said, nursing a vodka coke or whatever. Most people are drinking at shows. But yeah, I say all that also admitting that been to tons of shows where you see people just lighting up joints right in the middle of the pit or whatever and smoking. Well, cool guys. Well, let's wrap it up here. It's a little after 5:05 here in the West Coast. That means it's a little after 8 o'clock on the East Coast. We'll have a new show coming up next week, and
Yeah.
we'll have shows pretty much every week for the foreseeable future. And we'll
Yes.
try to make sure to keep it locked here. Make sure you like and subscribe, all those things. Please tell a friend. We appreciate it. And also just like if for those guys that are watching, like not sure, and others, it was so cool to meet you, Jason. It was so cool to meet you guys that watch the show. Cause like we started doing this about a year ago is when we started, almost a year ago exactly, is when we started doing these like weekly interviews. But also, I don't know, it just we started this because we wanted to do it, like JR had an itch to scratch, I had an itch to scratch, where we both wanted to do more interesting interviews with people, and we want to learn about this stuff and we want to talk about this stuff. And it's also been a cool and fun way to kind of like get CannaBuzz out there in a different way. And I'm just really appreciate everyone who's been having a good time and who I guess vibes with what we're putting out there. I appreciate that.
Me too. Me too. And we'll get that RSO episode. We'll get that made up and rescheduled and redone.
Sounds
So
good.
we'll bring probably another one to you. Another thing on that machine, the one that we are going to be giving away, any kind of support you need from Extract Craft, they have 1-800 support. They'll walk you through everything you need. They have great resource informations. And they also have a secret kind of page, extractcraft420.com. And they're starting to fill that with some content as well. So check out for that.
Awesome. Well, really great time. Good to see everyone in the chat. We've got Weed Wizard, Growing at the Beach, Not Sure, Trey K, Slayer 420, Ball for Life 420, Jason Davis or Jason D, Gina, Crazy Pop Mom was here and here earlier, a bunch of others. Shout out to you all. It's really cool. I love seeing all the names that we recognize. It's just really cool to see all in there. So we will be back next week. Stay in touch. Follow, what is it? CannaBuzz Social on Instagram, and JR Token on Instagram. Your username is a little bit more tricky. J underscore
Yeah, it's J__token. I'm so deeply shadow banned that you will have to type out every single letter and you probably still won't find me. But what does always pop up is my backup account. So maybe give that one some love because you may not find me.
Fair enough. All right, guys. We'll see you guys next week. And JR, have a great time with the family in LA.
Growers love.